Ladies and gentlemen, in the 19th century, a guy who was born not too far from here, 280 kilometers to the west. During his work in the US, Colorado Springs, the eastern coast, has invented so many things that we know that majority of our technology, especially when it comes to power and electricity, is because of him. He died in American Secret Service for 3 days, making sure that they got all his inventions, all his papers. Probably because of that, decades to follow, his work was mostly used in military. This gentleman was a prophet also. He said that 150 years from his time, the civilization will realize what he was doing. Well, it has been 100 years. Unfortunately, more and more information of his work is resurfacing. I'm talking about Dr.sc. A lot of people do mention his name, but not a lot of people do understand his work. And it seems to me that one of them who's been working, adding his creativity, is among us today. We are lucky enough to have him involved in our project of Bosnian pyramid sources. And what you're going to hear are the very concrete, precise measurements in something that we've been establishing in the last few years, pyramid science. Electrical engineer from Belgrade, Serbia, Goran Marijanovic.
I think that now I am only one in this room who really believe in Tesla waves and their existence. I hope that after this presentation it will be something different. Any connection between Tesla's technologies and pyramidal structures sounds very strange and quite unbelievable. However, by my opinion, such connection is not only possible, but highly probable. Main motive for more detailed research in that direction was information about detection of electromagnetic and ultrasound phenomena on the Pyramid of the Sun in the archaeological park in Visoko of about 28 to 30 kilohertz. Fact is that Compton's mass, which corresponds to that frequency, according to EDQ model rules, have 10 billion times lower value than is a virtual rest mass of a photon as a quantum carrier of a classic electromagnetic waves. See that relation here? On the other hand, this value is almost identical to the rest mass of a stable object of order 9, that is the quantum carrier of Tesla waves, he called non-Hertzian. This fact suggests that the observed vibration of 28 kilohertz should be rather correlated with the Tesla's non-Hertzian waves than with the classical Hertzian electromagnetic waves. Connection between principles applied by Nikola Tesla and his devices and principles utilized by nature were already known to me since I deal with Tesla work for a long time. It is well known that Tesla used all the planet Earth as a resonator. We also know that transfer of arranged mathematical structures in a special geometric shape results in a very specific wave properties of such objects and properties characteristic for coherent systems. Objects of certain forms with specific dimensions and their especially arranged internal structure represent the resonators, that is, concentrators for appropriate forms of energy. Comparison of concrete dimensions of Visoko hill and parameters of Tesla's famous magnifying transmitter from Colorado Springs points to numerous correlation and possible analogy with the universal cosmical principles applied by Nikola Tesla. And so, everything became somehow connected. Solar system, pyramidal structures, and Tesla technologies. According to my understandings, reality is dual, and it is always made by two opposite semi-realities. In this sense, time and space are equivalent opposites that are quantitatively equivalent but qualitatively inverse entities. In support of such world structure interpretation on this slide, we can see some illustrations, that is, examples of multidimensional resonance as it exists in Moon, Earth, Sun, galaxy, cosmic system. You see that values in seconds and the meters are very close. And regarding that, we can say that Earth revolves Sun in the space, but Sun revolves Earth in time. In physics, space-time continuum is any mathematical model that combines space and time into a single continuum. Space-time is usually interpreted with space as existing in 3 dimensions and time playing the role of a 4th dimension. That is of a different sort from the spatial dimensions. From an Euclidean space perspective, the universe has 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time combined into single topological space. In non-relativistic classical mechanics, the use of Euclidean space instead of space-time is appropriate, as time is treated as universal and constant, being independent of state of motion of an observer. In relativistic context, time cannot be separated from the 3 dimensions of space because the observed rate at which time passes for an object depends on the object's velocity relative to the observer and also on the strength of gravitational fields which can slow the passage of time, and etc. From the aspects of topology, the mathematical study of shapes and spaces, it is possible to describe arbitrarily complex spatial structures. From the aspect of mathematics and physics, there is no problem in number of dimensions also, but our problem is how to imagine and conceive such spaces. Our realistic and experimental experience verified by time dilatation, for example, length contraction and similar effects, indicate us to quite indisputable fact. The real world in which we live has Riemannian structure which, from the topological aspects, imply curvature of 3-dimensional space we live in and thus include his multidimensionality because this 3D space have to be curved in one quite new dimension which is outside of the evolve of those we know. Difficulties which we have in a multidimensional structure understanding can be illustrated with the 2-dimensional beings trying to describe all the beauty of the some painted vase from 3-dimensional world in his 2-dimensional reality. Modern theories about the space-time structure, whose supporters include me, is toroidal form, of double space-time helix, at which space and time are identical but inversely opposite one of another. Macro-universe is one space and lot of times. The space is continuity and time discontinuity and consists of a series of moments. It is a world in which we live. Microcosmos is all that but inversely. The world of atoms, for example, is one time and lot of spaces. Time is continuous and space is discontinuous. The electron is in all possible positions at once inside his shell and can exist only at certain distances from the nucleus, which we call shells, and cannot exist between them. Reality. Reality is the state of things as they actually exist, rather than as they may appear or might be imagined. In a wider definition, reality includes everything that is and has been, whether or not it is observable or comprehensible. A still more broad definition includes everything that has existed, exists, or will exist. Reality is the totality of all things, structures, actual or conceptual, events, past and present, and phenomena, whether observable or not. It is what world view, whether it be based on individual or shared human experience, ultimately attempts to describe or mark. Nikola Tesla undeniable intuitive genius of our civilization has reached extremely deep comprehensions during his life. But, unfortunately, he never summarized them in some form of his own cosmogony. However, with the analysis of his numerous interviews, articles, especially the diary from Colorado Springs, his patents and documents which are available to us, it can be seen that all of his successes came out from his deep connection with the nature. What I claim is that there is a full analogy between Tesla's measurements, expected values by EDQ model, and results of measurements on Visoko Hill, which I find as affirmative arguments which speak in favor of all Tesla's statements and controversial claims that he is not working with Hertzian waves but with waves of some totally different kind. To wider audience, Nikola Tesla is known for his discoveries of rotary magnetic field, polyphase electricity, glowing of wireless vacuum tubes, and of course his experiments in Colorado Springs. Some of Tesla's ideas were so advanced that even today only few people believe in them. One of his greatest discoveries were stationary waves and the possibility of using the Earth globe as a resonator. Many people after Tesla tried to repeat his experiments with wireless energy transmission. One of the first was Robert Golka, and one of contemporary is Bal Visoko, for example. This is my laboratory in one small village beside Belgrade, and here is how looks my living room in my weekend house, and that could be a reason why my wife is not happy, but grandchildren are very, very happy. There are many unknowns related to Tesla's system of wireless transmission of energy and his experiments, but he claims that he resolved all his doubts there. The fact that Tesla was aware of the uselessness of Hertzian waves for wireless transmission of energy and very often insisted that he works with quite another kind of waves he called non-Hertzian. Here, I have listed for you two very, very important Tesla's statements. More than interesting is that he claimed that his system of energy transfer must not be confounded with the phenomena of electrical radiation, because this method is highly inappropriate for the transmission of any appreciable amount of energy to such distances as are of practical importance. What more, Tesla points out that radiation of energy into space in the form of Hertzian electromagnetic waves should be very small. In many of his statements, Nikola Tesla claimed that he does not work with Hertzian waves, but with a different type of waves, which he called non-Hertzian. Our basic question is whether Tesla's non-Hertzian waves really exist at all, and if they exist, the key question is whether they are only a form of surface but still vector transversal electromagnetic waves in the near field of a transmitter, as for example Norton-Zenek waves are, or a completely new physical entity established in the original James Clerk Maxwell's paper as a partial differential equations in the scalar form of the quaternion, which are hypercomplex numbers. At first glance, we know the right answer long ago, but the proposed response is based on my energy density quantified model, which indicates the potential truth of Tesla's claims about the existence of his so-called non-Hertzian waves that greatly differs from the classical electromagnetic waves produced by Henry Hertz and theoretically described by modern version of James Clerk Maxwell's theory. By my opinion, answer to this question is impossible without knowledge about non-conventional forms of energy. One of those who deal with researching of non-conventional forms of energy after Nikola Tesla was Dr. Nikolai Kozyrev. He was one of the first scientists who succeeded to prove the existence of so-called ethereal energy that affect the substance and react with it in different ways, but by his experience, it is not possible to detect them by classical scientific methods, because they are non-electromagnetics and non-gravitational energies. Dr. Klaus Volkhammer is a modern researcher who also believes in existence of some energetic fields that cannot be measured by the instruments available with today's technology. One of modern researchers of an unconventional energetic form is Dr. Gitta Nils. His experiments were based on signal transmission in specific conditions with waves of a special form known as evanescent mode. This mode is characterized by a negative wave number, that is, negative value of wavelength frequency, what means that this energy is imaginary. This wave mode can be found in an undersized waveguide. Waveguides, periodic dielectric heterostructures, and at the frustrated total internal reflection of double prisms. Most unusual properties of evanescent mode waves are that they have negative energy, they are not localized, and as such are absolutely undetectable by any known scientific method. They are, but not fully, described with Maxwell equations. Anatoly Hatrin, the scientist who studied and recently headed the microlepton technology laboratory, is well known to those who are interested in the physical aspects of parapsychology. For me, his work is very important because the mass of his microleptons is about 10 power minus 45, and the car, according to my model, quantum carrier for Tesla waves, has a expected mass which is very close to that value. Scientific realism is, at the most general level, the view that the world described by science is a real world as it is, independent of what we might take it to be. Unfortunately, scientific theories can describe only a part of reality. One of great limitations for harmonization of modern science and experimental reality is so-called Luxon wall, which point us to the insufficient width of the existing theories demanding new ideas. Another limitation in the description of the world on his quantum level is a Planck constant value. On the other hand, Nikola Tesla speaks of particles which speed is 60 times greater than the speed of light. Is it possible to harmonize these controversial Tesla statements with official science? In our opinion, the solution is very simple. It only takes a small change in the understanding and interpretation of the concept of the highest possible speed in nature as the key size which determines the value of the Lorentz constant. We have not enough time, but details you can find on my site, and I will go further. As we know, velocity of light actually is a measured speed of moving photons in free space. Maxwell's constant determines the relation between electric and magnetic phenomena of the vacuum, where this relationship, in dimensional sense, presents the speed, meters per second, and had a very close numerical value to measured value of the speed of light. By my opinion, and the opinion of numerous researchers, these two quantities are different and unintentionally have been identified and mistakenly equaled in modern interpretation of Maxwell's theory. What we suggest is conceptual separation of the measured speed of light and the Maxwell's constant. Hence, in the Lorentz constant equation, quantity of c, which is the theoretical value of the greatest possible speed of movement in nature, should not be defined as the value of the measured speed of light, as it is now, but the value of the Maxwell's constant. Due to the fact that its size is slightly, but still a bit higher than the speed of light, that value would actually have to be the real Lorentz theoretical barrier, or Isaac Asimov's Luxon wall, and for substantial objects completely unattainable speed, which as such can never be measured experimentally, but as Maxwell showed in his initial and original work, it can be obtained in the basis of electromagnetic properties of the vacuum. By adopting of our suggestions, Lorentz transformations remain the same. Their invariance is not in question, but the qualitative difference becomes huge because now Luxon wall can be achieved, even skipped, without violate to currently valid postulates and theories, including the theory of relativity and quantum theory as the foundations of modern physics. However, the result is magnificent. You can see that here. On the other side of the Luxon wall, of the Luxon wall, Luxon wall is here. We have two realities, one which we know and the other which is a mirror of our reality. On the other side of the Luxon wall, it comes a whole new world that eludes to modern science and modern scientific thought, and that includes all those objects that classical science considered as a virtue, imaginary, and so on, or described like dark mass, dark energy forms, exotic matter, and so on. The result of my researches of space-time structure is expressed in EDQ model. Analysis of the large number of objects in a wide range of dimensional scale in the domain of micro and macro world has shown that the stable object mass and radius cannot have random values. Quantification of energy has been known long ago and was introduced in science by Max Planck. In our model, this principle is extended to entire space-time structure. The result is a quantification of stable object's energy density and is expressed as the impossibility of the existence of objects with random relation between the energy and the part of space occupied by that energy. Density analysis of many objects show that their masses are approximately equal to the radius power 2 for a first level of quantification. This law is very simple, but it is valid to the whole scale over macro-universe, micro-universe, to the area of fourth quadrant, which we attribute to the spiritual aspect of reality. Although this area of hyperspatial entities in the fourth quadrant mostly belong to metaphysics or esoteric domain, their real existence, for me, is based on the same realistic scientific physical measurements of macro and microstructure objects from the real world in which we live. Established relationship between substantial and the waveform of objects, their mass, size, and corresponding wavelength offer us a much wider knowledge about the world we live in that is possible in terms of classical science, and what is most importantly, without violating its basic postulates and currently valid theories. If we take a look in the part of reality that corresponds to the electromagnetic wave spectrum, it can be seen something very interesting. The fact that regarding EDQ model postulates, both energy relations for substantial and waveform objects are quite identical, show that energy contents are completely equal, indicating that it is the same object seen on two different waves. Moreover, to every minimal energy in the separate radiation ranges on the scale of electromagnetic waves corresponds maximal energy of some corpuscular objects. You can see. It is the reason why we suppose that there is an analogy between the number of different radiation ranges and number of basic stable corpusculars. According to EDQ model propositions, Just like a photon, which is the stable object of order 8, next stable object of order 9, that is a corpuscular form of matter state with a quite real rest mass of about 10 power minus 49 kilos. Waveform of the same object, according to de Broglie relation, have frequency of 14.8 Hz. As we know, frequency of 11.4 Hz is already known as Tesla frequency. This fact was a basic reason to me for naming stable object 9 a Teslion and corresponding frequency domain as Tesla waves area. It is obvious that Tesla waves are qualitatively different from Hertzian waves in same sense as radio waves have quite different qualities compared to optical waves, for example. This fact directly indicates the validity of Tesla's claims that he doesn't work with Hertzian waves, although he recommends using a frequency of 6 Hz to 20 kHz. Classical or so-called Hertzian electromagnetic waves has both electric and magnetic field components which stand in a fixed ratio of intensity to each other and which oscillate in phase perpendicular to each other and perpendicular to the direction of energy and wave propagation. This type of energetic vibration has been well studied and explained with the theory of James Clerk Maxwell. It seems puzzling that the possibility of existence of scalar fields and of real longitudinal electromagnetic waves is still not fully accepted by the academic world. But theoretically, scalar potential waves with the longitudinal electric field that have the same direction of vibration as their direction of travel must exist. This kind of energetic fluctuations were established by James Clerk Maxwell in his initial original paper, but later they were abandoned for some reasons. Here we can see various forms of wave motion. The most interesting form of spheroidal movement interpreted as points on the balloon, which represents a homotety without the expressed center. Otherwise, this is dimensionally lower animation of a real accelerated universe expansion. However, when you talk about Tesla technologies, it seems that no one of the mentioned types of wave motion is not good enough for the description of energy fluctuations with which Tesla worked. As we know, before the turn of the previous century, Nikola Tesla had discovered a new type of electromagnetic wave. He repeatedly stated that his waves are not classical electromagnetic waves, but new kind of energy transmission in the form of non-Hertzian waves with different characteristics and propagation possibilities through natural mediums than Hertzian waves. That is very important for our investigation here. My detailed analysis of Tesla's magnifying transmitter has shown that it is a very complex machine, even though its structure is very simple. All its elements are mutually resonant with itself, as well as the whole surrounding environment, including the Earth, which enables the significantly more complex processes of energy transformation. With classic Hertzian devices, this is not possible, because the necessary requirements for the multidimensional resonance are not available, although they satisfy electromagnetic resonance condition. Here we can see a detailed analysis of Tesla's magnifying amplifier in terms of classical science and EDQ model with the possible flow of energy. As an illustrations of Tesla ingenuity, attained knowledge, and extremely high technical possibilities, we emphasize that he, by a spark length control, succeed to achieve ideal spectral energy distribution. What? You see? You see frequency resonance? What even today many people cannot attain even with the use of modern equipment. Influence of different types of coils coupling, galvanic, magnetic, ethereal, and the possibility of backflow of energy is more easily seen in the simplified diagram. The red color of the energy flow is described as a classic science C, and the blue color shows the coherence of the elements from aspects of our model. Qualitative diversity in relation to the classical Hertzian system, like Marconi utilized, is quite obvious because it clearly shows that at Tesla's device, all unused energy remain in the system. By my opinion, this is a central point of Tesla's misunderstanding. Hertzian system is just transmitter or receiver. Tesla system is both at once. Further investigations will help us to better understand this process. Tesla's magnifying transmitter presents a complex machine which is multidimensionally resonant with itself among partial elements of the machine, as well as the whole surrounding environment, including the Earth, that is macrostructure, and vacuum, that is microstructure, or using the model terminology equally from outside and from inside, which enables the significantly more complex processes of the energy oscillating, transformation, and propagation through natural mediums. By our theoretical and experimental investigations, Tesla waves have a higher energy hierarchy position than Hertzian waves have. Because of their higher energy density ordering number, they have much bigger space-time resolution ability, quite different properties and propagation possibilities. Tesla waves are not neither conventional electromagnetic waves as light is, nor usual charged masses streaming as an electrical current is. They are real corpuscular wave duality, which real structure elude to us. All we can perceive and or measure in our reality is their three-dimensional shadow as some kind of unusual form of electromagnetic field component, gravitation, and or electrostatic anomalies, etc. This could be a version of what to do next. According to our model postulates, we have to expect some kind of double alternating magnetic vortices combined with longitudinal electrical and gravitational field variations. On this slide, we have photo of experiment from my laboratory with a wire whose length was 2 meters, where we obtained unusual electromechanical oscillations. After applying appropriate frequency and voltage, wire started to rotate around its longitudinal axis, but one half spins in the clockwise direction and the other half spin in the opposite direction. This is a very unusual effect, but points us to our non-Hertzian technologies. Here, we can see one interesting also electromechanical oscillation that actually is another form of double alternating ascending-descending cyclical helicoidal movement and in fact illustration of Tesla waves 4. On this slide we can see a classical coil and my special coil wound on Tesla's principles, which we apply in Colorado Springs. We have to note here that unlike the classical coil, Tesla's coil meets the requirements of general cosmic agreement, space-time harmony, time-space synchronicity, and coherence of both, and in this way satisfy the necessary and sufficient conditions for its general multidimensional resonance. Although we use the same driver machine, pictures polycontrast interference photography, which can visualize some energetic transformations. Pictures show that the classical coil does not change the ambient field through applied power was over 300 watts, but coil wound on the special Tesla principles, according to which Tesla created his famous extra coil in Colorado Springs, powered with much lower energy that was below 10 watts, completely changed the structure of the ambiental field. Here we must note that the radiation of any known form of electromagnetic energy cannot be detected by measuring of electrical, magnetic, or electromagnetic fields. Even if the coil is excited with its resonant frequency, detected electromagnetic waves are very small, even in the close vicinity of the coil or nearby its top plug. It is more than interesting that energetic phenomena similar to those recorded in experiments with the Tesla's special coil were recorded at the different pyramidal structures also. Regarding the fact that the several different teams detected electromagnetic and ultrasound phenomena on the Visočica hill, Dr. Slobodan Mizrak and his team decide to do measurings based on scientific methods and using highly professional equipment. Measurements were performed during the April last year. Performed experiment was very sophisticated, and we used a lot of equipment which was more than 250 kilos. What we do is that we emit energy, electromagnetic energy of about 30 kilohertz in the pyramid, and mechanical wave, that is ultrasound wave, of about 28 kilohertz also in the pyramid. And pyramid has its own emission of same frequencies and form of energies, and using triangulation we try to find where is the source of that energy emission in the pyramid. Here you can see equipment, different sensor, antennas, recorders, special machines, sophisticated for sounds measuring, ultrasound, etc. Cameras, we use the 4 cameras, power machines, accumulators, generators, etc. Wires, wireless, for communications. And here we can see leader of that project, Dr. Slobodan Mizrak, when he do his last checking of equipment. Measurements lasted more than 49 hours, and because we were measured, take the values 100 times in second, we get a lot of data, more than 4 terabytes, and analyze was last about 3 months. data was sent to three entities. Don't look that, that's only an illustration. It was sent to the statistical center in Zagreb, Belgrade, and Austria, and they used their own statistical models, but all of them gave us the same results, absolutely equal. Estimated electromagnetic wave source was at distance of 2,440 meters, shifted in a horizontal line for 410 meters. What is maybe more interesting is that estimated power was more than 10 kilowatts. Explain this is very difficult, because that energy beam, which consists of electromagnetic and mechanical waves of similar frequencies, was measurable only on the top of the pyramid in the circle of only 5 meters. I am engineer in telecommunications, and that's science fiction for me and today's technology to do something like that. This is a team. Here is Professor Dr. Slobodan Mizrak, Professor Dr. Paolo De Bertolis, and this guy you already know. Now I will show you I will show you my interpretation of obtained results. In experiment of Dr. Mizrak and his team performed in April in last year at the Archaeological Park Pyramid of the Sun in Visoko, we used highly professional equipment, and measurements were carried out in a strictly scientific method. Measurements lasted for 49 hours, and the results were analyzed in 3 different institutes, as I already said. When we talk about Tesla's and non-Hertzian technologies, I want to introduce you briefly the results of my recent research. Analysis of the obtained results indicates the need for a serious re-examination of Tesla's original statements, because during the measurements we meet a lot of anomalies. Measured value of signals reached 3.6 volts, but expected scientifically calculated level maximal was only 1.1. We get already 3 times higher values. And what is more interesting, we noticed a signal delay of 28 minutes. When we start measuring, we didn't get nothing. We have to wait. When we start to transmit signals, we cannot measure nothing. We have to wait 28 minutes, and then we get a signal which is 3 times higher. And we said that electromagnetic and ultrasonic waves were present within a circle of about 5 meters. I believe that these quotes of Tesla original notes support my opinion that Tesla was the first man of this civilization who succeeded to achieve full coherence, that is, multidimensional resonance of his non-Hertzian oscillator and natural mediums. From this very important Tesla's description of the events which he observed and whose studying lead him to the biggest life cognition and understandings, which, as Tesla said, is more beautiful than anything else. Expected value for the vibration periodicity based upon diameter and mass of the Earth and expected time of electromagnetic signals propagation on the way of the Sun magnetic field lines are exposed on my site until 2003. We can see that obtained values are very close to Tesla's measurements. It is quite obvious that the wave of mechanical wave inside from the Earth's surface to its core lasts the same time as the wave of electromagnetic wave outside, which is, according to models postulate, quite expected, since it's the same event seen from two different sides, as two different and on first look not related motions, while both are completely synchronized with Earth's stationary waves. Presented data shows complete coherence of Tesla's oscillator with Earth and Sun, namely on the full symmetry of three equivalent opposites: spatial overlap, temporal synchronicity, and their multidimensional balance, and that is the exact thing that makes the essence of physical reality of Tesla's non-Hertzian waves. This general alignment of numerous parameters of different entities is what makes the core of Tesla's non-Hertzian waves, enabling them specific features of propagation through the natural mediums with small resistance and speed even bigger than the speed of light. Words speed even bigger than the speed of light sounds quite controversial, but when we speak about electromagnetic wave propagation through the Earth, velocity equal to the velocity of light is also problematic, because transversal, vectorial, namely Hertzian waves, can move at the speed of light only in the vacuum, or at about value in the free space. Its propagation speed through the other mediums depends on the electrical and magnetic permeability of the medium through which they propagate. Specifically, electromagnetic wave propagation velocity through Earth should be 8.4 times lower than light velocity. Regarding that, it is obvious that value of calculated wavelength, that is 288 meters, for observed signal of about 30 kilohertz is absolutely not correlative with any value determined by measuring of the electromagnetic and/or mechanical vibration. That fact imposes us an idea about possibility of real existence of some waves of a very different kind. A very interesting result of our theoretical research is compatibility of Tesla's most controversial statements about superluminal propagation of his wave train packet through the Earth with speed half of pi times greater than the speed of light in free space. Under the assumption of some hypothetical mechanical wave propagation on Tesla wave with a period identical to the period of Tesla's mechanical vibration resonant with Earth, EDQ model gives us exact same value that all three institutes gave as estimated value of radiation source distance, and which actually is, by my opinion, nodal point of Tesla's scalar wave, for whom the Earth and Visoko Hill, in terms of natural mediums, exerts effects analogous to the phenomenon of superconductivity. The fact that the wavelength of the real detected electromagnetic signals on the pyramid of the Sun has the value which is totally agreeable with the time period of Tesla's mechanical standing wave, which is again almost identical to period of stationary waves generating during the storm lighting discharges, with both values close to value that on the basis of mechanical parameters of the Earth. EDQ model offers us expecting values indicates the indisputable connection and validity of Tesla's ideas about possibility of using the Earth as a multidimensional resonator. This is probably the main reason for high efficiency of Tesla's devices, whose operating principles are quite analogous to those used by nature. The fact that the mechanisms of Earth's standing waves creation and the principles of Tesla's lambda quarter helical resonator are completely identical supports this way of thinking. And finally, something really more than interesting. We know how we calculate the wavelength regarding appropriate frequency. And when we have the frequency which decrease, wavelength increase, and vice versa. But for every frequency we have appropriate wavelength, but their relation change through 0 to endless number. But only one wavelength and one frequency have relation equal to the number pi. And that wavelength is 9,780 meters, what is 30 kilohertz. That not be random. Quarter value of that wavelength is a number 2445. We know what that is. That's estimated distance of a source of energy in our pyramid of the sun. The number pi is a mathematical constant that is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Circular shape of the magnetic lines and linear shape of electron trajectories through the wire which creates that magnetic field probably is the reason for resonant properties of natural or man-made objects in whose structure natural constants are woven. This could be a reason why operating frequency of Tesla's oscillator in its famous Wardenclyffe tower was exactly 28 kilohertz. Each theory may or may not be true in entirely or in particular domain. However, the numbers are inevitable, and those with EDQ model aspects are performed measurements speak in favor of feasibility of Tesla's words that he was trying to convince his contemporaries that he does not work with Hertzian waves, but with waves of very different kind. Purpose of this presentation is to show that Tesla's technology is based upon universal principles of all cosmic machines, like for instance solar systems, are same as those which are implemented into structure of certain mostly sacral buildings of the ancient civilization. All my theoretical and practical studies point to the possibility that objects of certain forms with specific dimensions and their especially arranged internal structure represent the energy concentrators and can be some kind of multidimensional dipoles, that is, resonators for of appropriate forms of energy. Whether Tesla waves really exist or not, the intention of this presentation is to point that facilities in the archaeological park Visoko, Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, were not raised as a result of stochastic natural processes, but these are artificial objects created with careful planning of their shape, location, probably built with unknown technology with purpose we may, however, foresee. Preservation of basic cosmic vibrations of all local densities, primarily of biological structures. That's we. Thank you very much.
Excellent job, Mr. Marijanovic. 3 years back, we said that here in Bosnia we have completed our first phase, proving that we have a construction complex. 2005, 2010, we are getting proof that we have a shape of pyramid geometry, that we have perfect orientation, that we have concrete blocks, we have inner passages, that we have underground tunnels, and then we said we need to move on. Archaeologists, geologists, Egyptologists did not help us anymore. They had nothing to compare the Bosnian pyramids with. They could not help us with the true purpose of it. And this is when we said, now we need the help of physicists, electrical engineers, people who are expert in energy phenomena, people who can measure, who can use their scientific instruments, who can detect. And one of the major researchers who was here was electrical engineer Goran Marijanovic. And the connection with Tesla's waves, with those frequencies, with the numbers that simply match, they are not coincidences. And I believe that engineering minds will help us the most to assure the world that we have artificially built structures that are not only structures, the pyramids, but huge energy machines. One more time, thanks a lot for your excellent work, Mr. Marijanovic.